Good day, everybody, and welcome to The Witcher 3 Remastered for Next Gen. A lot of us have been waiting a long time for this, and it's finally here. The Witcher 3 is acclaimed as one of the best open-world RPGs and general games of all time, with some of the best storytelling, cinematics, and general RPG gameplay ever. Looking back on it, it really is the first hyper-successful Dark Souls-type game I can think of, really, that got that trend going. I'm excited to share my thoughts on the gameplay so far. I will be playing from my PC, and if you are too, you can get The Witcher Remastered simply by already having The Witcher 3 in your Steam library and downloading the latest giant update for it. That's it. It takes care of everything. My overall sales pitch of this video is that if you want to jump back into The Witcher 3 again and re-experience it, or never got into it but were curious, you should absolutely give it a try now. Overall, it was always just an incredible experience to play through and is even better now. Before I get into the gameplay though, I actually want to mention an unfortunate note I've found, which is that even on my fairly powerful gaming PC, I'm unable to enjoy one of the most awaited for parts of this remaster, which is the ray tracing and general next-gen graphics updates. I found upon loading this up for the first time and making it past the opening cinematics that this game was horrendously stuttering at a frame rate of like 2. I was really alarmed, so I went into the graphics settings and played around a bit, and I found that if I set the graphics quality to high instead of the ray tracing setting, everything runs pretty smoothly. At a noticeable change in graphics quality, but not devastating. I think it's the ray tracing specifically that trips things up, because even when I set the graphics to high and enable just the ray tracing back on, everything starts freezing up again and running terribly. I'm actually playing on medium graphics settings now to avoid sacrificing frame rate reduction, which is upsetting because this is basically, it scales it back to almost 2012 graphics. You can take a look at my gaming laptop specs here if you're curious and want to compare it to your own. I just bought this less than a month ago on Cyber Monday, and it's been absolutely kicking ass over my gaming PC that I upgraded from in every other aspect. It's not a top of the line one because it didn't cost me thousands, plural, dollars, but it's still a nice piece of equipment. So I'm not sure if I just messed something up but that's my graphics experience. Okay, now on to the more fun stuff. There are various updates that The Witcher got in this remaster, most of which I'm still not totally knowledgeable with yet, but I will give you what I think are the most important things to know going into it. The first thing I noticed, even on lower graphics settings that I must use, is that the textures got a very deserved touching up. Armors, weapons, grass, people's faces, signposts, whatever. It all looks a lot more in keeping with a modern game than I remember from the original Witcher 3. We've been told that several mods from over the years have been incorporated into this remaster, which is great to make quality of life and aspects of gameplay better than they were previously. The Witcher 3 always had the most impressive cutscenes I've ever seen, especially in character interactions and how natural and immersive it all feels. It's the only RPG I can remember playing recently that doesn't make me want to skip past the cutscenes and dialogue because it's all so beautifully and cinematically done. I noticed that especially in characters' faces, expressions, and general mannerisms, it all feels even more natural and immersive than I remember. It could be the improved textures, it could be additional little tweaks, I don't know, but it really works and I think it's awesome. Of course, we must cover combat. As I mentioned, I'm still very early game here, so I don't feel much of a difference yet in the combat, but I do really want to make a point of saying that I absolutely love and appreciate the lengths the developers went to in making combat as fun and diverse as possible, while still keeping everything very grounded, realistically speaking. I am a martial artist of over 10 years now, or oops, I'm older than I thought, almost 15 years now. And I've practiced both Japanese and European sword fighting, in real life I mean. And the way that Geralt and characters move in combat, adjust their stances and their footwork and the positions of their swords based on what's happening or which attack you've just done or what you've just blocked. It's such incredible attention to detail and so grounded in real historic sword fighting that, in my opinion, that I really want to make sure this isn't neglected. It's extremely nice attention to detail, and I'm also a software engineer. I know that accounting for all that and making those little shifts happen is so much extra effort that most people don't really feel is worth it, but it was worth it. Overall, a really interesting aspect of the Witcher world and lore is how close it feels to medieval Europe, because it is heavily based on medieval Europe, especially Poland, I believe, where the developers CD Projekt Red are based, if I remember correctly. I hope I remember that right. Anyway, this is something you don't see in most popular, overly fantastical RPGs nowadays. It also feels refreshingly different in that not every aspect of villager and medieval life is glorified and made fantastical. In fact, going through most villages in The Witcher, it feels like it really sucks to be everybody. It's not at all fantastical, but it's awkwardly historically on point, which I love. I mean, the whack villager bowl cuts can't be just made up for the Witcher world, can they? It really feels like tons of historical research was put into every aspect and little detail of the medieval-style Europe world. Like, somebody found out that was a haircut and was like, okay, we gotta put that in. Anyway, I must point out further that I love not only the parrying mechanics, going back to combat really quickly, in the sword fighting, and the fact that you're rewarded for timing a block as closely as possible to an enemy's attack, with a riposte or counterattack, but that you also have two options in dodging, either a swift sidestep or the full-blown roll-away. I love the option of the more realistic sidestep, as it's a break from those idiotic Souls and Elden Ring style games where everyone imagines that the best way to move in the middle of a sword fight is to somersault constantly like some donkey-brained monkey man. I am going to go very against the grain briefly here and say that I absolutely have always hated Dark Souls and Elden Ring style gameplay. You don't have to agree with me, and statistically speaking, you most definitely don't, but it's always bugged me and I stand by that. The Witcher's combat, on the other hand, old and dated as it may be, even now just feels better. It feels fun. It feels like I need to think on my feet and vary my strategy, but it doesn't make me feel like I'm running around like an asshole cheesing people because I dive out of the way of every sword swing or punch or loud fart that comes my way. Anyway, before I rant further about that, let me tell you about other aspects of gameplay that I found nice. One thing I noticed that I did not notice in the original Witcher 3 as an example of a good quality of life gameplay is that when you're riding your horse Roach and you're on a road, you can hold down the trot button, which is shift on PC, and Roach will automatically take you down that road without you having to direct or drive. I've noticed as well that if you have a quest objective marked, Roach will prefer the path towards your quest objective and take you right there. To be completely honest, I have no idea if this was a feature in the original Witcher 3 already, but I didn't know about it, so I wanted to point it out. Thought it was cool. And it's worth mentioning, since you may have noticed at this point by my combat ability, that I never actually got very far in the original Witcher 3 as it is. This is partly because I was playing through it, but I did stop in favor of other games because I heard that this remaster was coming out, and I figured that it might fix some of the clunkiness and old gaminess I was dealing with, so I thought I'd just pick it up later. While a lot in the realm of combat and world interactions is smooth, in my opinion, this remaster definitely still plays overall like a very old game when you're just like walking around town. Geralt still walks like he just did back day at the gym like every day. The turning and walking around is very sensitive, so if you're looking to talk to someone or pick up a very small object, you'll probably find yourself doing awkward walk-arounds the thing. I was honestly hoping this aspect would be a bit smoother now, at least with the way Geralt turns when he's walking and details like that, but then again, how much of that can really change when the mechanics are so old? I mean, they can. Even Skyrim has like mods that improve the turning animations and things like that, but anyways. There are multitudes of other technical details I could get into comparing the new and old Witcher game, but I won't, because that's not really the point of this video. And plus, I don't really know all those details yet anyways. It just happened like a day ago. There are plenty of other videos out already that will give you all those little details if you're really interested. The point of this video is just to tell you about my experience jumping back into this game in its latest and greatest version, and to give you an idea of the kind of experience you'll get if you do the same. It is easily more fun, more immersive, and more compelling than most games out today. I've even read that it's being called PlayStation 5's Game of the Year now, just over Elden Ring, which obviously makes me really happy. There really never has been another game like The Witcher 3 since. Expect to put a ton of hours into it if you dare, and expect that a lot of these hours are a refreshing mix of not just combat and grinding dungeons for best in slot gear or whatever, but a mix of traveling in a beautiful and oddly relatable world, delving into characters and interactions that top most modern movies and TV series and storytelling, and of course, getting to experiment with all kinds of combat and customizable character builds like a proper open world RPG. I'm also reading that the launch of this remaster is a bit echoing the launch of CD Projekt Red's other recently huge title release, Cyberpunk. This is to say that many people are saying The Witcher 3 Remaster is riddled with bugs and issues. I have not experienced any issues yet, other than the graphical limitations of my own system. I've also read that though a PS5 can keep up well with the graphical updates, you should really dumb those down if you're playing this on a PS4. So that might make some PC gamers feel better about their rigs. Okay, that's all I've got to say. I am, again, so excited to be exploring this next-gen remaster of The Witcher world, and overall I highly recommend it to anyone looking to experience one of the most significant works in gaming and storytelling history ever. Thank you for watching all the way through if you're still with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Please consider subscribing and liking this video as well if you really enjoyed the content.